May it please the court, my name is Lam. I appear for the applicant, the Republican Federation of Atania. Your Excellency, we're here today because of a dispute over freshwater between two neighboring states. And one state overused the water that caused damage to a heritage site. We also want to clarify the causation of a migration of people from our nation to the respondent territory, bringing with them our national relic, and we want it back. I have 4 submissions today, and the first one is about the dispute over the freshwater. Your Excellency, Atania, the applicant, and Rahad, the respondent, are neighboring states. They share the border and share the history of being a descendant of the clan Atane who resided in the nomad coast for thousands of years. They also share a largest underground freshwater resource called the Greater Inata Aquifer. And for many generations, people of these 2 states has relied upon the discharge of water from this aquifer for their life necessity. It is very important that on the first United Nations World Water Day in 1993, the Minister of Water and Agriculture of Rahad made a public promise to Rahad and Atania people that Rahad would make every effort to preserve and protect the water from the aquifer, also to ensure their equitable use of this water. Because, and this is what he said, upon which life and prosperity depend, and without which we cannot survive. However, not long after that, when drought occurred in the nomad coast, the Queen of Rahad, Queen Teresa, directed the ILSA, government-funded scientific organization, to study into the feasibility of direct tapping into the aquifer for fresh water and to replace the imported water that they has been exercised during the drought. The ILSA came back with a report confirming that in order to replace the imported water, Rahad must or should extract up to 1.2 cubic kilometer of fresh water out of the aquifer. With this extraction rate, the fresh water will get depleted in less than 30 years. In less than 30 years, there will be no fresh water in the entire region. The president of Atania expressed his concern over this, but disregard to his concern and disregard to the report, Rahad still proceeded extracting water by installing a network of 30 pump wells connected to each other by the Valley pipeline. Your Excellency, this action of operating the Valley pipeline to provide water for farmland and for natural gas industry of Rahad has constituted a inequitable usage of shared resource and violate international law, international obligation that undertaken by them towards the freshwater reserves. Rahad has failed to notify Atania about its action. Your Excellency, our second submission is about the damage of the King Canyons complex caused by the depletion of the aquifer and the Valley pipeline operation. The King Canyons complex, in fact, a World Heritage Site, a group of 3 canyons located at the border between Atania and Rahad. It contains a thick history of early human civilization and a lot of significant structure that attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. Sadly, it now has been reported to be degraded by the depletion of the aquifer caused by the operation of the Valley pipeline. The evidence are very clear and very convincing. The evidence include a report from geologists in 2010 saying the cause for the degradation of the complex is attributing to the depletion of the aquifer. The evidence also include photographs of the environmental degradation at the site from tourists. And the evidence also included the fact that a group of tourists were in danger during a sinkhole occur by a collapse of pathway in the complex. After that, the canyon complex has been placed in the World Heritage Site in danger. With all that fact, we submit that the Rahad and its operation of Valley pipeline has seriously violated international obligation to prevent damage to the heritage site. However, Rahad had failed in many other ways. It failed to inform Atania of the Valley pipeline project. It failed to negotiate with Atania in good faith. It failed to conduct an environmental impact assessment that consistent with the international law. And finally, it failed to observe due diligence for prevention of damage to the site. Your Excellency, I now move to my third submission, which is the matter of Kin people migration to Rahad. So in 2010, a study from geologists, climatologists, hydrologists suggested that the impact of the Valley pipeline had now caused a permanent lowering of the water table in the region. As a result of this, the water from the aquifer is no longer sufficient for being attracted by Atania for its agriculture. 1/5 farm in Atania has ceased to operate, and in another 10 years, another 30% of the farm will be in the same situation. Worrying about this, the president of Atania has suggested to the Queen of Rahad to suspend the operation of the Valley pipeline in order to wait if the situation can be better understood. However, the Queen rejected the invitation to negotiate. Facing a serious exhaustion of water in Atania, the government of Atania was forced to enact the Rahad Act, which is an act to set a quota on water usage and the requirement to purchase licenses to use water from for agricultural purpose. The Kin people is one of the clan of Atania who comprise of 98% of the subsistence farmers in Atania. Frustrating with this limitation on water usage, they participate in a series of protests, which then escalate to chaos and dangerous situation. The government of Atania was forced to disperse the protest. Some protesters were arrested and charged for disturbing the peace. Subsequently, the protester or the Kin people left Atania and moved to or migrated to Rahad. Rahad accepts some of them as refugees, but hundreds of thousands other were detained in refugee camp, just normal camp, having to wait for 24 months before their application can be reviewed. And then Rahad make a claim that Atania must compensate $945 million to Rahad for the cost of housing the Kin migrants. Clearly, Atania does not owe Rahad any compensation for the cost incurred to house the Kin migrant for the following reason. One, Atania does not violate human rights towards Kin migrants. The Rahad Act is not a discrimination legislation. It is an act that set out to protect the future of water in Atania, and therefore Atania does not violate any human rights. Secondly, the Rahad is in no position to accuse or impose this compensation over Atania for violating the human rights, because the migration of the Kin people to Rahad actually was caused by the Savali pipeline operation that caused the limitation of water in Atania. Therefore, Rahad is barred by the clean hand doctrine. Thirdly, Rahad must be responsible for any migrants that came to its territory, either it's refugees or not. But in this case, the facts show that there's discrimination over the migrants, that Rahad has arbitrarily detained them in the camps. The fourth submission I have today, Your Honor, is about the ruby sipa. It's one of the national relic. It's a shield that made of gemstone. It was found in Atania in 1903, and it has been placed in our cultural center for public display. When the Kin migrated to Rahad, one of the members has entered the cultural center and took this ruby sipa to Rahad and handed to Rahad government. Knowing that Atania government has requested Rahad to return our stolen property, but Rahad refused to do so. So, Your Excellency, from all the facts above, we now submit that the court declared 4 claims. First, the extraction of water done by Rahad is clearly a violation to international obligation and therefore constitute an inequitable usage of shared resource. Second, the operation of the Savali pipeline has caused damage to the Keene Canyon complex, and therefore this operation must cease immediately. Thirdly, the migration of people from Atania to Rahad was in fact caused by the Savali pipeline operation, and therefore Rahad cannot hold Atania account for the cost incurred. And lastly, the Ruby Sipa is a cultural property of Atania, and as such, Rahad must immediately return the stolen relic to its lawful owner. This is the end of our submission.